from the Hubbard Brook Ecosystem Study, which is a collaborative ecological research program based in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's very beautiful there, but I'm also very happy to be here in Tucson. The snow just melted, and it had been there since November, so this feels pretty nice. And the research site where this study takes place is a 7,800-acre experimental forest, the Hubbard Brook Experimental Forest, and it's managed by the U.S. Forest Service. Here we have 47 principal investigators from 26 different institutions around the country. And to give you a sense of my role there, I came on board in early 2018 as the Outreach and Communications Manager. And I'm working on a grant that's funded by the National Science Foundation's Advancing Informal STEM Learning Program, and it's called Embedding Public Engagement with Science at Long Term Ecological Research Sites, or PES at LTERs, as it's known to its friends. And it's to investigate the overarching goal of the project. Sorry, mess again. The overarching goal of the project is to investigate mechanisms for embedding a culture of public engagement at 2 long-term ecological research sites. So Hubbard Brook, where I'm from, and then also the Harvard Forest in western Massachusetts. And this is a real challenge. How do you create replicable, evidence-based pathways for changing the culture of a research site? But these sites are both really ideal for doing this kind of work because they both have existing science communication structures in place, and they both have a history of public engagement and policy work, but they're both really ready for the next step to push this kind of work forward. So for the past year or so, these are just some snapshots of some of the types of external engagement projects that I've been working on. So we have science storytelling events, we publish articles about our research online, we have a social media presence. But in order to create all of these materials, I had to start collecting stories from all of those different scientists, those 47 principal investigators that I mentioned. And it was a lot of material, as you might imagine. It's a large group, it's an active group, and dispersed, so coming from all these different institutions. And so my colleagues and I decided, since I was accumulating this information anyway, we might as well start sharing it. Maybe someone else would find it useful. So we came up with a very simple format to do that, just a plain text monthly email that we send out internally within the community, and we highlight a few different things. So we have recent publications, Hubbard Brook in the news, outreach and education, newer proposed research, save the date, and announcement. So it's super simple, and the first one I sent off just in kind of an offhand way, thinking, I have this in front of me, maybe someone else wants to look at it. But almost as soon as we started sending this out, we started getting feedback from the scientists that they were finding this product actually incredibly useful. And so it's a really tight-knit community and a very collaborative community, so there's sort of this idea that everybody knows what everyone else is working on, but it turns out that's actually often not the case because there's just so much going on at any given time that not everyone can be aware of all the activities. So as we realized how important that this new product was for the scientists, we began to notice that it also had a vital function for our own work to embed public engagement too. So these are just some examples of the kinds of outreach and education updates that we've sent in our newsletter over the past few months. So when we send this out, the researchers are seeing that their colleagues have been busy giving presentations at local schools, or presenting at retirement centers, or talking to fly fishing groups in the area. And these activities are listed right alongside the peer-reviewed journal articles, and they're not treated as something that's superfluous or extra or optional. They're treated as regular and valued contributions to the output of this research site. And so thanks to this internal newsletter, our new motto when we're discussing our own broader impacts goals has become engagement begins at home. And our thought behind that is that by amplifying existing outreach activities, we're showing the community what its own values are. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really challenging to create new cultural norms at a long-term research site, but this is how it happens. This is how engagement becomes a community norm, which is the entire goal of our project. So that's the brief 5-minute story of how this very simple newsletter has quickly become one of the most powerful tools in our public engagement toolbox.